Hello, Salem. Let me introduce myself. I'm Jim Boyd, a former newscaster and reporter with WCVB-TV here in the Boston area. And here today, I'm talking with Sean Stellato, who is an author. He's also done some great work as an agent for a number of professional athletes, football players, names that I'm sure Sean will be talking to us about. But here today, we're going to talk about one of his latest efforts, which is his book, No Backing Down. Sean, good to see you.
Jim, good to see you as well, my friend.
So why don't we do this sort of chronologically? Let's talk about you were a football player, at Salem High School back in the 1990s, and had an incredible run in the miracle year of 1994. What made you want to play football? There were a lot of comments that I read in the book about people suggesting that, you're too small, you can't play, but why a sport where generally you see people that are, muscular and big and macho, probably a bill that you don't fit? Why football for you?
It was funny. I really loved boxing as a kid, and my uncle was a former professional boxer, went to the Olympic trials. But I grew up the baby of two older brothers that loved football, and my dad was a football fan. And I learned quickly about the tradition of Salem High football and a coach by the name of Ken Perrone. And I felt like trying to emulate Doug Flutie. I remember as a young boy seeing that miraculous pass in November in 1984, and I said, wow, that looks like a pretty cool sport, and I fell in love with it then. And I kind of liked the fact of being the underdog in stature, and I really kind of used that as fuel to the fire. But football, I just felt was a way to express myself, a way to go out there and do something that I was extremely passionate about. And I saw the big picture. I believe football could be an opportunity for me to expand my horizons as a student, as a kid with dreams and goals, to be able to go out and conquer those and do it utilizing the game of football.
But the sense is that it was never easy for you.
No, it wasn't. And I guess that's what makes my story very unique. I came as an underdog, and our team was a very underdog, diverse group of young men. And I felt like, my father told me one thing as a young boy that I really, it hit home and really resonated with me. The fact that, you could be the smallest statured athlete, you could might not be the fastest, but one thing that you can never not appreciate and never really always keep track of the fact is how hard you work. And when he said that to me, I said, you know what, that's interesting. So that means if I outwork everybody and I work as hard as I can, Dad, I'll make it to the NFL. And he says, not quite. But you'll succeed, and you'll be able to, do some amazing things that maybe a lot of people don't think that are feasible for you. And I really took that statement and listened to the stories about my grandfather coming from Italy, Calabria, Italy, with a suitcase to chase the American dream. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go for it, and I promise you, Dad, whatever I do, I'm going to work as hard as I can. And it was great to have two parents that and a grandmother that all I witnessed day in and day out was work ethic. And I said, if I can emulate them to an extent, I know I'm going to be able to make it as a football player. And I channeled those kind of any aggressions or frustrations as being a little undersized to working on my skill set.
So they basically tell you that it's not necessarily the talent that you have, the size that you have, but your work ethic and how hard you're willing to work. Let's talk a little bit about that infamous football team of yours, the 1994 Salem Witches. You went into this season not knowing if you were going to be the quarterback. There were two or three of you who were vying for the position.
That is correct.
Where'd you get the confidence to suggest that you were going to be, the key guy when it came down
to be honest with you, I got the confidence from my grandmother, my awa. She was my inspiration. She was the foundation of my faith, and that I would say my dad and my brothers. They really programmed in my head of what I could do, and if I just worked hard and if I worked smart and really focused on my craft, and I was able to really do that. I was going up against two other quarterbacks, so I knew one was a senior, another was a junior, and I just said, hey, you know what, I'm gonna stay focused. This is what what I really am burning desire to do and to not only be the quarterback, but to do something extremely special that season.
Okay, so you were going up against a junior and a senior, and you were what at that time?
I was a junior at that time.
You were a junior as well.
Yep.
And the team, it started out from what I read in the book and what I recall from back in 1994. The team starts out in late August and September, and there weren't very high hopes. I mean, there were some people who were writing, kind of the projectors, suggesting that the record wasn't going to be that good.
Yeah, they were. We were projected, I believe, to go 4-6 or 3-7, and I think Coach Prone really he wasn't sure what this team was capable of doing, and I take my hat off to Coach because his ability to lead, his ability to really tap into certain individuals and bring out every ounce of talent is so imperative as a coach, and he was able to do that. But we weren't projected to do much that season, and I think that enabled the chip on our shoulder to be a little bit, grow a little bit, and go into that season with a vengeance.
Yeah, those predictions, those projections were basically talking about what would happen on the football field. But there was something monumental that happened during that year that basically influenced not only the football team, but the town and politics and everything. And that was the fact that the teachers decided that negotiations weren't going well with the city and a strike was called during a crucial time of the football season. How did that affect how did that affect you, as a student athlete, and how did it affect the team?
That's a great point you bring up. That season we went into very, underdog team. My teammates and myself had very diverse backgrounds. Some were socioeconomically challenged. Others were dealing with personal tragedies at the home front. And that was so amazing about that season is we all banded together and formed a brotherhood and found ourselves undefeated, getting ready to play in conference, getting ready to play Swampscott, who was undefeated. And our coach had 2 contracts, one as a teacher, one as a coach, and he had to make a decision when they did strike. And we weren't really sure. We were privy to some of the contractual demands that was going on with God in the union and the administration. But as kids, you're focusing on your next game, your next practice, your next date, your next homework assignment. I mean, I think the broader scope of life, dealing with what was going on the home front, then pouring this onto the fire just was a concoction that we weren't ever privy to. And Coach tried to really break it down to us in terms of what the ramifications would be. And we just wanted to play football. A lot of my teammates and myself were holding on to this dream of football to have an opportunity for a better education, to fulfill our boyhood dreams. And everyone thinks that your teenage years are forever, but they're really a heartbeat in life. And to be stripped or robbed of that opportunities to have a chance to go to the Super Bowl, have a chance to fulfill your boyhood dreams, I don't think it was in the best interest of the students. And I really commend Coach Prone. And when you look at people through time, whether Abraham Lincoln or Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks, they're heroes. They stood up for what they believed in. That's no different than what Coach Ken Prone did. He stood up for what he believed in. He wasn't going to get paid more money. He wasn't going to, at the end of the day, be put in the Hall of Fame for doing it. I just commend him for being able to do that, because I know when your livelihood and you have a family, you have decisions to make, and you got to always weigh the pros and cons.
Because now we understand that what did happen is that the teachers called a strike.
Yep.
And by being on strike, they were forbidden from coming into the school, and the coaches were involved in that as well. There was a prohibition. The coaches couldn't go into the school. The kids couldn't go into the school. The team couldn't go into the school. Your equipment, your football equipment was there. You couldn't hold organized practices at the school. How did that affect things? And this came late in the season, if I'm not mistaken, at a time when a couple of crucial games were coming up. Just walk me through that. How did that affect the team and its emotions and preparations for these key games?
How that affected us as a team when the coaches went on, or the administration, I should say the teachers union went on strike, was we weren't privy to everything at first, so we were very concerned. And what we were understanding was there was going to be, in reading in the papers what every major reporter, sports journalist was writing, that there could be a possible forfeiture of the season. So we got wind of that as a team, and we decided to break into school and steal our equipment. And we met as a team, and we wanted to play ball. And we weren't ready to cave in, and we were willing to play, under any circumstances. I mean, the administration wanted to hire coaches that never coached us for the season, that were Pop Warner coaches, that were coaches, guys that were just out of college. I think they were missing the big picture.
Yeah.
Football is the ultimate team sport. In terms of preparation, you can go into a baseball game with a pitcher that throws 95, he can take over a game. You can have a Michael Jordan or LeBron James that go over there and score 50 points.
Okay.
But with football and all of the schemes that went in, we needed our coaches. So we decided to grab our equipment off school grounds. We knew it was wrong, but at the end of the day, we were not ready to back down, and we wanted to chase this. So we stashed at a local field, Castle Hill Park. We went down there, started practicing on the Monday, had a captain's practice. And when we got down there, every major news channel was down there. John Dennis, Mike Lynch, Frank Malakote, Dan Shaughnessy, Bob Ryan, the list kind of goes on.
Yep.
We started practicing. Coach Perone eventually came down to kind of explain a dilemma and what really was going on. And next thing you know, you saw local police, the canine dogs, the administration come down. And we really got very emotional because the kids, my teammates.
How were you and your teammates affected by all of this attention?
Yeah.
I mean, generally you go out and you play games as a high school student and you don't get 4 or 5 TV stations coming down, major newspapers, and you certainly aren't greeted by the police coming down and handing edicts to your coaches.
Yeah, it was an emotional roller coaster ride. Several of my teammates, broke down, showed, as you'll see watching the book video trailer, broke down the tears. At the end of the day, a lot of us thought we were going to get arrested for breaking and entering, coaches arrested for trespassing. So they walked and distributed and gave Coach Perone a cease and desist. And when he gave the cease and desist, I thought for sure that was it. And he looked at us, and I think he saw just generational pride, just saw deep into our souls what we really wanted. And he said, "Boys, let's go play ball." And right then and there, he defied, and we walked back on that practice field. And I believe he left the administration dumbfounded. I thought he was just going to cave in there. And we practiced, obviously, and then things really escalated from when he defied. That evening, Channel 7, John Dennis live interview with our superintendent compared our coach to Jim Jones and David Koresh starting a football cult. It was completely false. Coach Perone never advised us to do anything wrong. He held our hand. He tried to educate us. He lifted us up when we're down. And that was no different than the witchcraft trials 302 years before in terms of false accusations.
Now, what kind of a relationship did you have with Coach Perone? What kind of relationship did he have with the other players?
Coach Perone was a father figure to many. Coach Perone was someone as a boy that I admired, that I looked up as a legend, someone iconic that I would consider a first-generation Vince Lombardi, first-generation Bill Belichick. He was so ahead of his time. He was all in. The thing I loved about Coach, too, was he really put the pride in Salem High football. He made you want to be a part of something. He made you forget about any problems you had when you stepped into that arena or the gridiron. And it gave a lot of kids hope, Jim. It gave a lot of kids a burning desire to succeed, faith that they could do it, and to really tap into their inner core to bring out the best in anything they've done. And I really, to this day, am extremely appreciative that he was part of my life and is part of my life today.
Okay, so Coach Perone basically decided that he was going to make the decision that he was going to stay. The other coaches stayed and played against basically the wishes of the school department, the school committee, the school superintendent. And then you had, if I'm not mistaken, 2 crucial games once the strike was called. And once all of this attention and all of this controversy was basically enveloping the school. So you had these 2 crucial games. What was the impact of those games, and what did that mean, and what was the result?
Yeah, the games were just, I think as a young kid with dreams and goals and a young athlete, when you go to the park, you envision thousands of people there. You envision coming down to the final play. Statistically, how often does that happen to every athlete that ever plays the sport? Us, it's almost equivalent to winning a lottery or something like that. But we got to Swampscott. We exited the Salem High Fieldhouse to play Swampscott, and sure enough, police escort was waiting for us. Got a police escort in the game. There was over 12,000 people. It was the national game of the week on Sports Channel. Our mayor showed up with a few bodyguards.
Okay, and what was at stake in this particular game?
So we were undefeated in conference, 5-0. Swampscott was undefeated in conference. They were 5-0. And pretty much the winner of that would be in the driver's seat to win the conference and go to the Super Bowl. And, you know, I thought, and I played in some big games. You know, I went to prep school after Salem. I played Division I football and basketball. I played 2 years of the Arena Football League. And I played in front of thousands of people, but I've never had an electric feeling coming from that stadium like I did that day. And it was the first week in November, 72 degrees. I remember it like yesterday. And we ended up going in there, and I'll tell you, with a vengeance. And I think we shocked Swampscott with tenacity and caused turnovers. And I was fortunate enough to have the game of my life that day, and you know, throw a couple touchdown passes and kick a field goal, and we won on the last play of the game. Corey Perry, our defensive back, made a hell of a play on Peter Woodfork, who's Peter's a big wig with Major League Baseball today, and went on to Harvard. Very good athlete, and we were victorious, and gave our coach a kind of carried him on our shoulders to the bus. It was just it was a special day.
1994.
That's correct.
Almost 22 years ago. And you say you remember it as if it were yesterday.
I really feel, you know, there's certain things in our childhood that kind of mold you to the person you become, and I have no doubt about it. Moments like that shape me to being a sports agent, to succeeding in college. Truly, truly blessed. And I know a lot of my teammates cherish that season as, you know, something that for their entire life they'll look back and reflect on as a shining moment. And I think that's what life's about, Jim, having shining moments and having experiences that create wisdom and that give you kind of that mindset when you're having an off day you can reflect on and realize that you did something special.
Now the pundits going into this game, what was their attitude and what did they expect the outcome to be?
You know, I think the administration, they wanted other coaches to coach. They didn't want Coach Perone. You know, his job, his line. They voted status quo 5-2, the school committee, for him not to coach this game. And I think at the end of the day, they were surprised he went on. I think at first, and then I think from there, when he made a statement what he was going to do, he was not backing down, and he drew a line in the sand, and I commend him for that. You know, there was Channel 7 interview with John Dennis, where our superintendent made those remarks. I think it left the kids like, wow. I mean, you look at those congregations; they led them to be to death. And at the end of the day, I think the mayor, whether he says he supported or he didn't, I think he was in support of the game going on, but Perone not coaching, and him being a former athlete to make that statement, it's kind of, I think, very contradicting, because you need, you know, your coaches. Those are, you know, that's like sending a general, an army off to war with no general.
I mean, it's one would think it's one thing when you're talking about perhaps at the beginning of the season, but after all the preparation and basically, you know, having all of these student athletes, you know, buy into a system that a coach has given you to try and take the coach out of the equation, one would think that's not something that has a lot of chance for being successful.
I agree.
But then, of course, there was another game after Swampscott.
Yeah, there was. So we won that Swampscott game 16-8. Teachers were still striking. We were still out of school, and we practiced that following week, and we went up to Swampscott. Now, Swampscott was the two-time defending conference champion, two-time Super Bowl appearance, home of Mike Eruzione, just a guy that might have done something pretty miraculous
Mike
in 1980. Mike Eruzione.
Mike Eruzione, wasn't he Winthrop? No.
He was Winthrop. So the following week we went up to Winthrop and played two-time defending NEC champion Winthrop, and they pretty much took it to us early. We had a letdown, and I'll never forget that. You know, going into halftime, we were down, and I think it was 14-6, and Coach, you know, had us look out and see, hey, you don't have thousands of people here. Most of the Boston media is not here. This is it. It's on you guys if you're gonna, you know, prevail and win this game. Because we lose that game, pretty much, you know, the season's over. And we found a way that second half it was almost. I think divine intervention the last several minutes that I can elaborate on.
So I mean, but again, not unusual. Pulling your rabbit out of a hat at the last minute and pulling out these incredible victories, almost miraculously.
Yeah, it was. If you think about, with 1:24 left in the game, you're down 21-14. Pretty much, Winthrop had to. They just had to run one play, and our defense coach Mark Hoolier, he had us focused the defense to really go after the football, and sure enough, sophomore Garrett Parsons stripped the football, and Corey Perry recovered it. Back-to-back games with huge plays for Corey. We got the ball back at our own 40-yard line, and just like that, we were in a position to maybe make something miraculous happen. And I remember, Mike Ruzioni being in that end zone. And came down to 4 seconds left on the clock. We're down by 6, and we had one more play left. And I remember just kind of running onto the field after Coach Brown and I, agreed on the play call.
Yeah.
And it was like that moment in the schoolyard was like revisited me. And sure enough, our line gave me a lot of protection, and I was able to kind of emulate some of my boyhood idols tactic in Doug Flutie, and threw a 40-yard bomb to the back of the end zone. Manuel De Pena ran an outstanding route, a skinny post, and adjusted. I put it on his opposite shoulder and cradled that football like a newborn. Time expired. We were tied, and it was just it was an amazing feeling. But we still had to convert the conversion to win. And sure enough, Coach Brown called the E-Train, who he set the all-time school record for rushing that year on a 2-point conversion try, and line again came up big, and we had two 300-pound linemen, Willie Jones and Jeremy Cronin, and David Russell, Dennis Dulong, Carlos Leopoldo. Yeah. He squeaked in, broke the play, and we won it just like that.
So now, under those circumstances, you could have just kicked the extra point.
Yeah.
And that would have made the game a tie.
That's
and the
correct.
game would have ended in a tie, but you had to go for the 2-point conversion, so it would be a clear win.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, wasn't that a big risk to take?
It was. I'm glad he actually we went for 2, because I was the kicker too. So I don't know if I would have had it in me to be miraculous on back-to-back plays.
Yeah. So which anxiety did you feel you would handle better?
I like throwing the football. Yeah.
Throwing the football.
Yeah. I just thought there was other variables that went into how the ball was held, or if or snapped, etc. But yeah, Coach called a great play, and we had misdirection going in that play, and I think it was a 42 power, stacked 42 power, and the E-Train, he took the ball, and I think he just looked at, you're talking about a kid that grew up with complete dire circumstances, never had a dad in his life, and his mom worked 18 hours a day, and he had a child, and Elvin was a special kid, special player. Yeah, I'm glad to call him a teammate and a friend.
Those 2 miracle wins over Swampscott and Winthrop. And you decided at some point in your life that you were going to write about all of this.
Yeah, we still had, the funny.
And here it is. I mean, it's your book, No Backing Down. You had 70 kids on the team.
Yeah, 70. I think it was 70. Yeah, I think right? on the nose.
But you write the book.
Yeah.
The other 69 kids, are not authors of something like this, and it's No Backing Down. Walk me through the decision to write a book about this.
It's a great point you bring up, Jim. And, intuitively, I've always known the story was an amazing story because it was true. And that's kind of been reaffirmed by who's endorsed the book. From Doug Flutie doing the forward, my boyhood idol, to Mike Lynch, to Rudy, Vander Holyfield, Mark Bavaro, local legend, Mike Dicker. And that being said, when I started interviewing former teammates, and I witnessed grown men crying in my presence, I knew there was something extremely special here. I'm a big guy on legacy. I was able to fly for the next 10 years after that season, post-Salem, for 10 years and play football. And today being a NFL sports agent, being around some of the most high-profile people in the game, And I always reflected on my years at Salem, how that molded me, how special that team was, what our coach put his job on the line. I'm a big movie guru, watching Rudy, growing up on Hoosiers, Field of Dreams. And I witnessed all of the elements of those stories I felt like we had, if not even better. And I thought the really icing on the cake is Salem. The backdrop happened in Salem, Mass, Halloween. But a lot of my teammates that didn't go on and play football, that didn't go on and have maybe the success I've had, they were exceptional players, great kids. And unfortunately, we're never asked to be born into certain circumstances. We're asked to be loved and supported and have the opportunities to chase the American dream and go after our goals and dreams. I felt like I had empathy for a lot of my teammates. My coach, Coach Perone would have been the winningest coach in Massachusetts high school history, I have no doubt. Salem teams would have flourished and more kids would have had opportunities. And I don't say anything with regards to the current coach, Matt Bouchard, who's doing a great job, and he's a former teammate. But I felt like it was my job, maybe the poetic justice of the story is I was the quarterback, but I felt like it was my job to tell a story very organically, to tell a story that could echo into future generations. And it's a story that can resonate with everybody, so many different people from all walks of life. And I think with that being said, we have an amazing city in Salem. I think with regards to the witchcraft, haunted happenings, but in terms of a human triumph story, coming to the Witch City and being able to tell it, very unbiased. I did a tremendous amount of interviews. I kind of let the readers make their own analogies and decide who was wrong and who was right.
A very, very controversial book in a lot of ways, because it focused on the strike. It focused on the conflicts within the city of Salem, a lot of personality conflicts, and we could go on for 2 hours talking about all of those various different aspects of it. But there's a lot about this book that's autobiographical. It talks about you and who you are, and the things that you talked about earlier, and family and work ethic and whatnot. But there were things in there that were very personal about you and your family. And I don't mean to do a spoiler alert here, but you were talking about some things that a lot of us would consider to be very sensitive. You talked about your mother and your grandmother and things like that. Talk about what it feels like to have put those things on paper and exposed yourself and your family and your teammates and their lifestyles and their life conditions for everybody to read.
Yeah, I thought it was very therapeutic to write it. My mother and father have had tremendous, influence in my life, as well as my coach, my late grandmother, who was always be my, I think about her every day. I felt that there's a lot of other Sean Stellatos out there in this world. There's a lot of other kids that have dreams. There's a lot that have been told they're too small, they're too short. And I think reading some of those personal stories can resonate with a lot of these kids and give them hope that doesn't matter what circumstances you're born into. If you've got a big heart, if you've got a mind, if you've got, power, knowledge is power. And if you really believe in your dreams and don't ever back down and don't listen to the people that are going to try to deter you or tell you what you can and can't do, you can do some amazing things. And that's what I'm most proud of. And I commend my teammates, the characters that I decided to write about and to choose to be part of the story. They opened up. They told me personal things that they might not have told anyone. And I know that's not easy to do. And they confided in me. They trusted me. And I wanted to write it organically and in a way that, can portray them and preserve their legacies. Because at the end of the day, we were innocent kids caught in a game and we were pawns. And we wanted to play football. We wanted to chase that goal and go to the Super Bowl and be successful in what we, anything we did, and go to college, etc. So it was tough to, in a way, to write some of the stuff. But
did you have any reservations about revealing all of these very intricate and very personal details about yourself, your family, or your teammates?
I felt like I didn't, Jim. I felt like the fact that I could tell them and tell it in a way that people can whether relate to or I think open up, because I wanted to take the reader there. I wanted to take them to the spot, because I know, like in a movie, when you watch a great actor, you see that actor perform, and that actor almost takes you And you're almost a part of that actor when you're watching that movie through that emotional high and that devastating low. And I wanted to be able to write where I could take the audience and people that wanted to read this book to those places, and they could maybe understand where I was coming from as an author, as a former quarterback, as a kid with big dreams.
And the other aspect, the other controversy, the major controversy in the book, which is the strike and all of the maneuverings between various members of the political establishment in Salem at the time. Any repercussions from that? Any backlash from some of the statements that were issued in the book and some of the interviews that were held and some of the opinions that were expressed?
Yeah, I'm sure, small talk I've heard with regards to opinions and how they express whether they liked it or they didn't. And that's what makes the book so unique, is there is going to be opinions from both sides. Coach Perone had 2 contracts, one as a teacher, one as a coach. His job description as a teacher was to be, to teach, and his job description was never outlined in the CBA collective bargaining agreement, had any relevance to him being a coach. He picketed in the lines with the union. The union blessed him and said, go coach the kids. Yep. But with regards to that, I think I really left it up to the reader to really decide who was in the right, who was in the wrong. And I think with every great sports stories that you've seen over time, there's always an antagonist. There's always someone that's not going to be a believer. You've seen it in, a lot of good sports stories.
You can't satisfy everybody all
No,
the
you
time.
really can't. And that was, very great point.
But the next thing is now we're talking about a movie.
Yeah, we are.
And I'd like to talk to you about the movie, but before I do that, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the title of the book. No Backing Down. Now, No Backing Down, who is that? Is that Sean Stellato? Is that Coach Perone? Is that the teachers union, the kids who you played with? No Backing Down, what does that mean to you?
No Backing Down means to me kind of everyone that was affiliated with the story. In terms of Coach Perone, definitely, I think he really defines that in terms of being a coach, drawing a line in the sand. The kids, we wanted to play. We weren't backing down. The union and the president, they felt that they were adamant on what they were getting. A 1% raise wasn't, palatable for them. The administration, they felt that Coach Perone was in the wrong. So they all kind of, I think, look through those lenses of no backing down. I think in my life today, when I operate as a sports agent, I'm not operating off speculation. I'm operating on primary source experience, and I really think my mindset is to not back down. And whether I'm recruiting a potential first round pick, whether I'm negotiating with the Patriots, or trying to really advise a client in terms of a certain situation that he might be facing. So I think it's a concoction of everybody, but I think in my life and how I try to live as a human being, I think it really resonates, and it really speaks for what I am as a human being.
Okay, so now let's talk about No Backing Down, the movie.
Yeah, we had exciting times. So I'm very excited to say that one of the biggest names in sports has endorsed the second edition of the book that's coming out on July 22nd. But we are excited to announce that night a world-renowned, one of probably the greatest screenwriters that's written sports stories, is going to be writing the screenplay for No Backing Down. So we're going to air a 3-minute sizzle that night. We've got a 12 to 15-minute private screening, impactful presentation. I'm working closely with a high school friend, Brian Lamontagne, who's a songwriter. And we've got a band called Exit 18 that's going to perform that night. They've written 2 to 3 songs that give me goosebumps every time I listen to them. And I feel like it's almost speaking to myself and my teammates, whether it's This Is Your Moment or Believe in Your Dreams or the No Backing Down hip-hop song. So it's going to be a red carpet event. We're going to have several Patriots there and other Mark Bavaro, Mike Lynch, yourself, and several others. And it's going to be a great night to make that announcement, bring everybody together, and really start the movement of bringing the movie to Salem, Mass. 60 Minutes, CNN have all endorsed it, USA Today, so we got more endorsements. I added a little extra writing to it as well, and then we've got someone very I'm excited about that's going to be on the front cover of this second edition.
And let's talk a little bit about the movie. Obviously, at this stage of the game, you don't want to reveal any of the details of the plot of the movie or exactly how it's going to go, but it's pretty much going to follow the book to some extent.
Yeah, I think that's, if you look at a lot of movies, that some of them don't have books. So us being having the book and being endorsed by some credible individuals, I feel like we're a third of the way there. But I guess that's going to be the screenwriter's ability to storytell. But I really want Salem to be highlighted. I want him to be able to bring Salem to life, because Salem additionally is a character. I think that will be something, talking with the screenwriter and spending a lot of time with him as he reads the book time and time again, and being able to really cherry pick what are the things that he really feels that will resonate with movie viewers and people that are going to watch this movie and come out and support it. But I will challenge this sports story with any other sports story written to find characters as colorful and as in this book and story. So it is a very exciting time, but we're putting the shovel in the ground that night, Jim, and I'm extremely grateful and extremely excited for July 22nd. I encourage all Salem residents to attend, come out, support. You can go to SeanStellato.com to order tickets and upcoming events, click on. And I'm just happy to have the support I've gotten on this project. And obviously, I'm a full-time sports agent, so that's my day job. This is definitely a passion project. And
this big announcement is going to happen on the 22nd of July.
Yes, July 22nd, red carpet event. We're going to open the Wizard of Oz curtains and let this screenwriter be announced. And we're going to have a 2 to 3 minute sizzle of some of the movies he's done.
So the screenwriter is going to be working his magic, and you're going to be pretty much the focus of this.
Yeah.
Who do you see playing Sean Stellato?
They got to be a lefty, Jim, I'll tell you that. I'd love to. Hopefully I'll be a body double. Maybe we'll wear extra eye black for the wrinkles. But I don't know. That's a great question. I'm sure when a producer's named and they're going to find obviously someone I think that could play myself. Coach Perone, I think if Ben Affleck or Matt Damon, if they hear or see this, they should definitely look into it, because none of them have played a coach, and I respect both them as being exceptional athletes from the Bay. Exceptional actors from the Bay State.
Yeah. Okay, so so again, it's going to happen on the 22nd of July. A big announcement of what's going to happen with the film, who's going to do the film, who's going to be involved in it, and other than that, it's just going to be one huge celebration for No Backing Down.
There it is. And that night I'm excited to announce Tom Dreesen. He's going to MC the entire evening. Tom opened up for Sinatra for 14 years. He's been on Carson and Letterman 100 times. He's one of the most amazing individuals I've ever met. Started the first black-white comedy act, and he'll MC it. And we're going to have a red carpet. We're going to have a really intimate opportunity for fans to interact with a lot of high-profile people. And we're going to have a Frank Sinatra lounge. So we got sponsorship opportunities. I've got local businesses that have, from Taché Real Estate to, I don't want to miss anyone, Hawthorne Hotel, the Salem Waterfront, which is a big supporter of this. They've been exceptional getting behind it. And Village Tavern is another one that has gotten behind, and I'm excited to have them involved. And hopefully we'll have other local businesses get behind this, but it's going to be a star-studded night, and it's going to be a night I know people will leave there extremely moved and pleased of the progress we're making and how we're moving the ball down the field to make this dream a reality. It's going to be a great opportunity for a lot of people, and I think the book resonates a lot with kids, and we've got a big passion for educational literacy, so hopefully this is going to be able to get more in the school systems in the area, because I've been starting a little speaker tour. It's been refreshing to see the feedback from a lot of these kids.
And we talked earlier about the book being motivational for kids, and hoping that one of the messages that was there is that nobody should be backing down, and kids should try to explore whatever their abilities are to the fullest.
Yeah.
Tell me about writing the book. I mean, how much of an effort was it for you to write the book once you decided that's what you were going to do? How long did it take you to write the book? You're writing about a major event that took place in your life, or major events that took place in your life 22 years ago.
Yeah, the book was a 6-year project. As I mentioned, 1,000 hours of interviews, court depositions. I watched every game 5 times. But I wrote it because the fact of the matter is I have such a passion for helping, kids. And at that age, you're so delicate on which direction you could go. And going into the Edward Everett Elementary last week in Dorchester, I was just blown away by the questions asked, by how these kids embraced it and the letters they sent me. And I'm very grateful God has blessed me with the ability to do this. And going in the south side of Chicago, Jim, and just hearing the stories and the conditions these kids have been privy to and accustomed to, and this giving them hope, using this as a tutorial, a blueprint on how to succeed and never back down, and to go do amazing things and go chase greatness and leave a legacy.
But as a quarterback, you have to have courage. As a football player, no matter what your role, you're part of a team, you have to have courage. It also takes courage to decide to write a book.
Yeah, it really does. And I think that's things that I've grown up with courage. Firsthand seeing, what my parents' backgrounds were and how my grandmother battled a major heart condition that season. It was just, that's something looking at the successful people or the leaders over time, how, as I mentioned, Lincoln and Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, a lot of them showed courage. Look at Tom Brady today, 6th-round pick. A lot of those quarterbacks could have caved in as they went through it and the adversity they faced. I just think it's an amazing story. Courage is something that I try to have to the highest degree, and really try to lead by example with my clients that I represent in the NFL. And one of my current clients now, Nate Ebner, he's chasing the Olympic dream and putting everything on the line to go represent the country. And he's another kid whose story is incredible and really lives by the no backing down, finish strong mindset.
Okay. Sean Stellato, no backing down. A lot of, wish you all the best with the book and with the movie. You're great.
I appreciate it, Jim. Thank you so much. Big fan of yours and all your success through the years. So my goal is to hopefully you can play yourself in the movie.
That'd be nice. That'd be really nice. Thank you.